Hey everyone, it's Andy from WrestleSphere. Just wanted to give a quick shout out and a thank you to Donovan Dijak, who you're about to see in this interview, where we'll be discussing all things Burning Heart and their upcoming inaugural championship tournament. He's going to be coming over to the UK very shortly. And in this interview, we talk about, obviously, the tournament itself, British wrestling. We're also going to be talking about the recent releases WWE have gone through and his experience from his side too. So I hope you enjoy the interview and I will catch you real soon. Hi everyone, welcome to WrestleSphere, and I'm joined by MLW star and participant in the inaugural Burning Heart World Championship Tournament. Ladies and gentlemen, feast your eyes. It's Donovan Dijak. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you very much for taking your time to chat to us. I'm going to dive straight in and ask you how excited are you to be coming across the UK and taking part in the Burning Heart tournament?
Super excited. Always a great opportunity for me to come over. I know the England fans are super excited to have me. Always, I think they're excited about everyone, but just for me to be able to consistently experience that is really a tremendous opportunity. I know that Burning Heart has put together a wonderful roster of competitors. I'm super excited to be surrounded and inundated with that type of caliber professional wrestler. Always. It's a great opportunity. Should be a great weekend of pro wrestling, and I'm very excited for it.
You've had a lot of opportunity throughout, either being on the independent circuit or in NXT, where you've faced off against a lot of British talent before. What is your sort of knowledge and how do you feel about the British wrestling scene at the moment?
It's tremendous. It's always. I mean, my first opportunity in the UK scene was in 2015, I think, maybe early 2016. And it's continued. It was super hot back then, and it's continued to trend in an upward direction, right? The training's getting better. The just everything across the board is trending in the right direction. I can't remember the last time I wrestled a UK talent, and it was like a difficult situation, right? They're always at a point in their career where I feel like I can collaborate sort of unfiltered with them and not have to worry about, well, are they going to do this right? Are they going to do that right? That sort of stuff. So in that aspect, from the in-ring aspect, it's always a pleasure. The fans are always on the same page. They always bring it to the next level. So yeah, it's always a great opportunity, and the payoff is always there as well in terms of emotional and vocal feedback. So I'm looking forward to it very much, and I think it's going to be an outstanding weekend.
So speaking of the fans, do you ever see much of a difference between the American fans and the sort of British and European contingents of fans, because you're used to seeing them over there for WrestleMania and Stand and Deliver, etc.? What's your kind of opinion on the difference between them?
It's it's situational in the United States, right? There's we talk a lot about territories in the United States, where it's like if I go here, there'll be this kind of crowd. If I go here, there'll be this kind of crowd. It can vary within 200, 300 miles sort of thing, where sometimes I go to New York, I know what that kind of crowd is, Georgia, Florida. It all just depends, and it varies. A lot of it is dictated by size of the crowd. I'll say this about the UK scene. Everyone is fairly consistent, even if there's only 20 people there or whatever, which I don't encounter much anymore. But there was a time where I was wrestling in the UK in front of 20 people. They're there for a reason. They're there to be pro wrestling fans, and they know what pro wrestling is and why they're there. As opposed to in the United States, sometimes when you're in front of 20 or 30 people and they're a little more hesitant, they're trying to figure it out, and they're trying to play it by ear. I don't encounter that much in the UK. It's more of just size differences, right? Like if there's 6,000 people there, there's 6,000 people there, and they're all on the same page, and they're all really loud about it. But you get the same passion from 100 people, right? That it's just quieter, right? There's just different levels of decibel volume but everyone's always very coordinated. They're all on the same page. They're vocal. They're chanting things. They're trying to be creative. They're trying to interact. That's what we as professional wrestlers love, right? And you get different variations of it in the United States. Some crowds are great. Some crowds need some more. I don't hold that against a crowd, right? If a crowd is quiet and they're just learning, that means that they haven't been there and they have that, that they just haven't, they need more direction. That's my job. That's not their job. It's not their, they're not a bad crowd because they're not loud. They just need to be educated by me. That's my job, to make their experience the best experience it can possibly be. In the United Kingdom, there's not a lot of that. I don't need to I don't need to teach them as much as I just need to interact with them. They want to know that I'm listening to them, and I'm always listening. I'm the person who's going to give it back to you just as much as you give it to me. So yeah, you're going to get that experience with me. That's my experience with those crowds. Always a pleasure. Always fun. I'll use the word fun for lack of a better word.
You're scheduled to go up against an absolute stalwart of the British scene as well in Robbie X in the quarterfinals. How do you go about sort of scouting and putting together like your sort of game plan and collaborating with someone like that, who's been around the block?
Well, it's easy because I wrestled him 2 or 3 months ago, so I know exactly what he brought to the table. He and I had a tremendous matchup. And one of my favorites of my entire career, just super. I don't like the word easy, right? A lot of guys say, "Oh, he's super easy to work with." I don't like the word easy. Just collaborative, right? Full of ideas, full of energy, full of excitement, right? Those are the things that speak to me as a professional wrestler, both in terms of the promotion, the promoter, the fans, everything. As long as everyone's on the same page as me, because I'm. This stuff excites me, right? This stuff is what it's my passion in life, right? There's a lot of parts of pro wrestling that are not my passion in life, like leaving my family, traveling on an airplane, staying in a hotel, right? Like these are not the things those are my job, right? Those are the things that I don't want to do. What I do want to do is be in the ring with someone who cares, with someone who loves pro wrestling, to be on an interview with someone who loves pro wrestling, to be with a student who loves pro wrestling. I mean, these are my dreams, right? These are the things that I wake up every day and I thank my lucky stars that I'm able to do, because that's my passion, right? Those are the things I love doing, and I can't wait to be around the next person. If I'm in the ring with someone who doesn't want to be there, that's a drain on me, right? Then it becomes like, for me, it's always, I don't care if the other person in the ring hates my guts and never wants to see my face again. Once the bell rings, I'm going to have a great time. Sometimes the process to get there can be a little painful if they don't want to be part of the process, right? With Robbie X, this is the longest answer ever. With Robbie X, I don't have to worry about that. He's just as passionate as me, and the collaboration is going to be next level. I can't wait for it.
So you mentioned there about teaching the next generation. You've got your T-shirt on there. You're doing a couple of seminars over in the UK as well. I want to ask you, without kind of giving too much away, because the people who are going to be there, are going to be in a very privileged position. But if you had to tell a prospective wrestler one thing they need to start doing and one thing they need to stop doing immediately, what would that be? Oh,
great question. One thing they need to start doing is watch all professional wrestling from a critical mind, right? I do this so much that I can't turn it off, right? I wish I could turn it off. I wish I could watch pro wrestling and just be a fan and just enjoy it. I can no longer do that. So I don't want people to get to that point. I don't want them to feel like me, where they can't enjoy pro wrestling as a fan. Which isn't to say, I don't want to infer that I don't enjoy pro wrestling as a fan. There's a lot of pro wrestling that I do enjoy, but my mind is always analyzing. I can't not see footwork. I can't not see timing. I can't not see moments and opportunities, right? Because I'm hypercritical. That's just the way my mind works. That being said, there's still matches that I love and enjoy, and I say, oh, I love this violence, whatever story they're telling, I still love and enjoy, and I'm able to absorb that while I'm doing the critical aspect of it. But I would say that to a prospective student, to be able to start doing that, because when you're doing that, you're giving yourself mental repetitions, right? If I see someone and they do something on a headlock or an Irish whip into the buckle or something, and they say, oh, I would have done that a little differently, that's a mental repetition for yourself, because the next time you're doing it, now you're going to try to emulate what you pictured in your mind. That's a mental rep, right? And you can't get enough of that. That's why I'm constantly watching film, constantly breaking it down, especially myself. If you have a match or even a training session, you can watch yourself and mentally critique yourself, then you're getting reps, and you don't need to have other people critiquing you. You can do it yourself and continue to get advice. One thing I would tell them not to do, boy, that's a great question. You know, I talked in my last interview about how I don't get a lot of questions anymore that I've never heard before. This is one I've never heard before, but it's a good one. That's a good one. What is a thing I would tell a prospective student not to do? The first thing that comes to my mind is it's, I don't want this to come off the wrong way. I would tell them not to be annoying. I feel like there's a middle ground, especially when you're talking to, you know, a veteran, or you're reaching out to a promoter or whatever, where you get either one side of this of the spectrum, or you get the other side of the spectrum. The first side of it is this person doesn't want to bother anyone. They think that everyone's talking to this person. They don't want to be disrespectful. They're super hesitant, and they don't say anything, and rarely do they speak out. And when they do, they say very little. Right? Then there's the opposite side of it, and it's the person who just does way too much, and they're just bombarding you with questions, and they're blowing up your inbox, and they ask for an opportunity every 3 days, and it's like, bro, just like leave me alone. You're so annoying. I can't block you soon enough, right? So, which isn't to say that I block anyone. I don't, but you know, some promoters do, and some wrestlers do. My advice to what not to do is don't be either ends of that. Find the middle ground, right? Find the middle ground in terms of being persistent enough to where people remember you, but you're polite, you're friendly, you're forthcoming with what you're looking for, you're professional, but you're not burning somebody's time. You know, maybe you contact someone once a month, or if you become good friends once a week, or whatever, you'll quickly figure out how much someone wants to talk to you, and whether they're reciprocating and reaching out back to you, you know, things like that, you know, little context clues to be able to sort of figure out what is the appropriate amount of time to contact and ask for information, or ask for opportunities, or whatever that thing is. I would say find that middle ground.
Great. And changing tactics a little bit here. Obviously, the last week we've seen some news come out of another round of releases from WWE. As someone who has experienced that yourself, what advice would you give to those individuals who have been released?
That's a great question. I'll say this: when those releases started happening, that was the first time in a very long time where I didn't have to experience that other end of it, which is kind of like a bittersweet sort of moment, right? Because again, nothing sweet about it, right? But just the fact that's the first time where I started seeing that, like that thing where so and so has been released, and then like another name keeps coming every so often, because usually what happens when I get that, and I still have the PTSD about it, which is all my friends start texting me, and then we start staring at our phones, and we're looking at it, and you're just waiting for a phone call, right? You're waiting for the dreaded phone call to come, which is odd, because in a sense I never got that, because I just found out what, like, my phone call was from my friend, my rep, Mojo, and I thought I was getting a good phone call. I was like, oh, he's going to tell me about my contract, and it was not a good phone call, and I was like, uh-oh, this is a bad phone call. So I never had that day, which I don't want, by the way. I don't want that day. I don't want that day for anybody. I don't want anyone to experience an awful feeling. It fills your gut with dread. It's a horrible feeling. So my advice to those people in that situation, I mean, it's hard to offer something new because there's 100 people who are going to tell you like, oh, there's a great opportunity and to keep your head up and all this stuff, because everybody told me, right? And I heard the same thing over and over again, which I'm thankful for, by the way. I'm thankful for everybody who reached out to me, and every single person who contacted me, independent of what they said. It was a comfort to know that people were thinking about me and caring about me. Yeah, so I don't want to just like be another voice just saying the same stuff. The one thing that I would say would be try to move past the feeling of, God, I can't, this is such a difficult question, right? Because I know what the correct answer is. The correct answer is time, right? Time heals all wounds. No matter what you say to those people, right? And a lot of these people are my friends, and a lot of them I have reached out to, right? What do you say to someone in that position that can change how they feel? The answer is nothing. The answer is nothing. There's nothing that anyone could say to me at that time on June 28th or July 1st or for the first few weeks after that could change how I felt, right? It was a difficult time in my life because I cared a lot about that stuff, right? I still care a lot about that, but I've had time to experience life outside, and I've had to, right? So ultimately the advice is the advice they're going to hear from other people, which is like, you'll feel better in 6 months. Right? In that moment, there's not much that helps, right? There's no, there's no great, I can't snap my fingers and take it away. I can just give the advice that everyone else gives, which is like, if you do what you've been doing, you will have more of an opportunity to control your future. And once you do that, you will feel a lot better about the situation that you're in, right? That's it. And I know that's similar to what other people say, and it's not comforting in the moment. Just as someone who's experienced that, it's true. It's true, right? Time heals all wounds, and if you keep focused on the things you can control what you can control, and do your best not to worry about the things that you can't control. I know that's easier said than done. I know nobody wants to hear that, but that's the truth, and that's reality.
But 8 months on, as you say, time heals, and you're going to be over in the UK. Those guys could be doing exactly the same thing with the opportunities, and I'm sure every single one of them is very talented. They'll be doing the same thing.
I hope they are. I hope I get the opportunity. I mean, I wrestled all of them, or the men anyway. I wrestled all the men. So yeah, it's I hope I get the opportunity to wrestle all of them again, because they're all great competitors, and they're all tremendously talented individuals. And one door closes, another one opens. There's my cliche.
And the last question I'm going to ask you is, I was such a huge fan of yours when you were in NXT. You had so many great feuds, whether it was the Joe Gacy, where you kind of pushed that envelope of what violence you could kind of put across on WWE as it is now, the Keith Lee stuff back in the day, that goes beyond. And then you had your triple threat match, Stand and Deliver. What's the one NXT feud that you look back on and went, I absolutely nailed that?
Man, you're gonna make me pick one, huh? Everybody else picks Keith Lee, right? Not a weekend goes by where someone doesn't come up to me and say, "Oh, I loved your matches with Keith Lee." I did too, by the way. Keith's a good friend of mine. I can't wait to wrestle him again. I think that's the big money match. I think people really want to see that again. But that being said, like me and Keith, like, we had such a history before WWE that I think going into those matches, like, we knew what they would deliver. So it wasn't like it was almost like like we already knew, right? We already knew what it was going to be. There was no question in our minds. Whereas something with like what's my like the triple threat from Stand and Deliver, that's the kind of thing that I can really hang my hat on and say like, oh, like this could have gone a number of ways. More so than the triple threat is the deadline match. The deadline match is my by deadline I mean we had the Iron Survivor Challenge match. That's my piece de resistance. That's my favorite match of all time that I've ever been in. It's the kind of match that can go any direction, you know, right? It can be horrible, it can be great, it can be whatever. We put so much time and effort and thought into that match, all the 5 participants and then the agents involved in it, and Sean had oversight over it, and just the timing, the production, the director was there helping us with timing, just the cameramans were there helping us with different timing, the guys under the ring who were like, everybody had a part in this match, and it was such a collaborative effort. And it came together so well, and it ended up being my favorite match ever. Just nothing. I've never been more proud of anything in my life than when that bell rang, when the buzzer went off and the bell rang, and Trick had his moment in the ring. It was the overarching story of what happened in those final moments was a concept that I initially brought to the table. And to see everyone take what was that first concept and to be able to add and build and change and subtract and turn it into what it became is just it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in professional wrestling. I was so happy and so proud to be involved in that. Just everyone was so talented, and it's my favorite match of all time.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. I hope everyone goes and checks out that match, especially as you've just painted such a great picture of what is a fantastic modern day stipulation. But people are going to go be able to see you in March, and go check out everyone basically at the Burning Heart World Championship tournament, and we're looking forward to having you. And thank you once again.
Thank you.